Hey, Neil Middle School. Since doves are birds, we're going to claim them tonight. They're not eagles, but we're going to claim them. We're going to watch out and make sure they don't cry. We don't want our students to cry. We're eagles. We stand strong, y'all. So we're back for episode 4. We call this one The Return. That's what we're starting to do here in DPS. We're returning. So welcome everybody that's viewing us tonight. We hope all of our staff is watching, of course. We hope that. Our fearless leader, Dr. Fuga, the administrative staff, all of our teachers, custodian and office staff, students, parents. We hope everybody associated with us is watching. DPS employees throughout the district. We're really trying to make this something that's very special and very important, not only for Neal Middle School, but for Durham Public Schools in general. So I am Joe Biggs, assistant principal at Neal Middle School. I'm standing in tonight for Mr. Taiwan Austin. He's still a little under the weather and has some things going on. We're praying for him. Ty, we're with you, my man. Get through all of that stuff, and we're going to keep this ball rolling. We have some very special people with us tonight. Oh, we got Mr. Covington checking in, saying what's happening. We got Miss Simone Griffin waving at us. Hello. We're glad y'all are joining us. We have some special people with us tonight. We have our student services with us tonight. They're going to be talking to you guys a little bit later. Miss Bennetone, I'm not going to use their first names. You can see it there on the screen if you want to do it. We're going to keep it formal. And Miss Habel is with us. And as always, we have Mr. Sherrod and Miss Santiago, the co-host and leaders of this movement, Neal Middle School Protect the Nest podcast. So without further ado, we're going to go into some news given to you, some local news, state news, national news, school news given to you by Mr. Sherrod and Miss Santiago. Guys, take it away.
Appreciate it. What's going on, good people? This is Mr. Sherrod Bender at that Neal, best middle school in Durham, North Carolina, best band in Durham, North Carolina. Watch what I tell you. I'm going to shoot into some world news right now. Top of the list, we just got finished with the Grammy Awards. Beyonce, Queen B, setting a record, being the most awarded female in musical history with 28 Grammys. And she's probably not stopping. The Queen Bee fans out there definitely pumping her up. She's definitely probably going to put out another album. If not, she's getting rich off of Ivy Park, so it don't matter.
Very rich.
Yeah, Taylor Swift also was in the news as being the first female artist to win Album of the Year 3 times. So Taylor Swift definitely want to thank Kanye West because if it wasn't for him, she probably wouldn't be as popular as she is. Also, the world news the interview that Prince Harry and Meghan had with Oprah has been a lot of talk, has stirred up a lot of emotions with the royal family, maybe some of the individuals from the England area. So definitely, if you haven't caught that interview, definitely check it out and see what their opinions are. What it was living like on the inside of that royal family, and some stuff that we definitely can't understand because we don't have, we're not ruled by that type of political system here in the United States. So it was interesting to get their point of views and what happens and what they're restricted to say, what they can and can't say, the freedoms, those things. What else we have in the world? Oh, very important comments that made by the United States. The relationship between North Korea and the United States has definitely been strained, but relations was non-existent for the past year. And they pretty much gave a threat to the United States, pretty much saying, shut your mouth, walk a straight line, or else. I don't know what the Biden administration is going to do about trying to deal with North Korea and the nuclear situation or their access to nuclear weapons. But it's definitely something that we need to keep in tune of on our local news. Enough of that. Let's shoot on over to Miss Santiago, who's going to definitely give us some local news and some school news.
Hi, hello everyone. Hi, Miss Santiago, like you guys know. And I also actually want to start with something very interesting that I found from the Grammys. Since 1986, a black female has not won the award for the comedy album, and Tiffany Haddish actually won it this year. And that was amazing. I don't know if anybody saw it, but she found out that she won while filming a show with kids, and she said something very interesting, very beautiful. Sometimes in life, the reason that we cry when we are happy is because there's a lot of stones, and there's a lot of hills and mountains on the way that makes life difficult. But hey, sometimes you need to remember that you are enough, and you will be enough at one point in life, and that's important to know. And that's something I really wanted to comment because it really touched my heart when I saw it. So yes, so a lot of good stuff. When it comes to local news, it's basically local news and Neil news are kind of mixed together today. So the Neil news of today is that schools are gonna open up. We are back in school. Starting April 8th, we're back at school, which is very exciting. Now here is the little details. Every student, every parent, like every student, is required to do a screening before you go to school. DPS right now is offering a screening where you go, and in the school system for teachers, they need to do it online. Students are gonna be screened at the school to make sure that everyone is safe, and we keep that's part of the procedures. Another thing is that CDC guidelines. Everyone needs to know and be aware of these. Okay, we have to have a mask at all times. The only time that you're not gonna have a mask is while you are eating lunch. Mask at all times. You 6 feet apart, like 6 feet, 6 to 10 feet. I'll actually recommend the 10 feet. If you have any underlying conditions, um, make sure you know that if you feel something weird, try not to go. Don't go to school that day. And all that good stuff. All those procedures are going to be talked to you guys soon, because it's still in the development, but just keep in mind that we need to keep ourselves safe and keep everyone safe as well. Part of the local news is sad news that in some schools, there has been, and they have opened up and some outbreaks have happened, and we're really trying not to have that, especially middle, like Neil, we're trying not to have that. So let's keep everyone safe and take it as seriously as we can. Doesn't mean that we're not gonna have fun. It doesn't mean that we are not gonna, like, the schools, doesn't mean that you can't trust the teachers, and and all that. But we need to see this seriously. Another thing, and another part of local news or science news, is that Johnson's, ever since the last time we talked, Johnson has released a new vaccine. This one is a one-shot vaccine. You don't have to take it 2 times. And the best part of it is that it has been proven to tackle both COVID-19s, the original one and the one that came from London. So that's really cool. That's really cool. Now, the last thing I want to say is more like day news. Today is St. Patrick's Day. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm wearing everything is green because it brings good luck. And I don't know, it's like a little fun fact that I found that I really like it. Do you guys know that even though St. Patrick's Day, we celebrate Ireland and all that? Do you know this? The first parade was actually held in America. It was held in Florida, actually. The first St. Patrick's Day's parade was held in Florida on March 17, 1601. And the reason that we wear green is because of the Celtic inspiration, the inspiration of Celtic culture and all that. So yeah, so that is all for me with my little fun facts and the Neil news. Let's keep everyone safe and let's continue.
Thank you, Mr. Sherrod and Miss Santiago. I had no idea that the first St. Patrick's Day parade actually happened in the United States. You would think that it happened over in Ireland or something. But that goes to speak again that how well polished the U.S. is, and how we handle things, and how we try to identify and associate with everyone as best as possible.
Yeah, and
Hopefully,
how multicultural. How
yeah,
multicultural.
I'm not gonna get into all of that, but sometimes I need to treat brown and black people a little bit better. But we're gonna skip over that and keep going. We're gonna keep going. As I told you before, we have our student services with us tonight. We're missing Mr. Phillips and Mrs. Valachovic. We call her Miss V. You know, we try to get real cool and fly, call her Miss V. And one reason is because that Valachovic is hard to say and spell. So, but we do have Miss Bennetone and Miss Habel with us tonight. They're going to tell us about themselves, where they are from, where they grew up, where they went to high school, went to college, what interests them into going into the field that they're in, how they wound up in Durham Public Schools and Neal Middle School. And then they're just going to give us some points on what student services is. And we'll be asking questions. So I'm just kind of giving a big overview, what student services is and what they do. And then they're going to give us some information that they want all students to know and parents to know on a regular basis in school, and definitely with us coming back during this pandemic. And we all kind of talk about this pandemic at the end before we leave. So with no further ado, we have the Powerhouse Gang with us, y'all. I can't tell you enough. We love these people. They do so much in our school, man. They're multifaceted. They do a lot of stuff. Welcome, y'all. So I don't know who wants to go first and who wants to go last, but whichever one of you wants to speak first, just tell us something about yourself, where you're from, and how you got into this field. I guess we'll start with Miss Bennetone, since she's got the B.
Sounds good. So thanks for having us. I'm really excited to be here. So just a little bit about me. I grew up in a military family, so my dad was in the Army, so we moved around a lot. I do consider Tennessee to be my home because that's where my dad retired. We were there until his retirement. And after that, I came to North Carolina to go to undergrad. So went to Duke University, ended up staying around to teach, taught for a couple of years. While in college, met my husband. I didn't think I was going to stay in Durham. He is Durham born and raised, and I will be here for the rest of my life now. So, and I love it. And yeah, my path to being a school counselor, I think that I've always been interested in education and working with kids. So I started out in the classroom, just realized that I taught second grade and just saw like a lot of the social and emotional barriers that kids had. And the kids were going through a lot of stuff, loss, abuse, anxieties, whatever it is, like deaths, just a lot of things. And I realized that if I wasn't addressing those issues, learning wasn't going to happen. If I wasn't building the relationships, learning wasn't going to happen. And so I wanted to impact a larger group of students beyond a classroom. And so that brought me to school counseling.
That's great. That's great. Ms. Habel?
Yeah. So I'm Ms. Habel to my students, Lauren Habel on here. But I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I actually went to Leesville Road. My family, we moved. I was born in Virginia, but we moved to Raleigh in the early 90s. And so I went to Leesville Road and grew up around there. I went there first to 12th grade. So it's kind of crazy going to a campus school like that where, you know, you're really enmeshed in the school community and, you really get to know those people. And so after high school, I wanted to continue my pursuit to play basketball at the college level. And so I went to a small school in Virginia called Emory and Henry College to do my bachelor's. And then after that, I moved to DC for a few years and worked nothing related to education. I worked for a hospice foundation. And then I decided I really wanted to get back into just like psychology and counseling. I always had an interest in that. And so I went to App State and pursued my degree there for school counseling. Starting off, I never really thought I'd be a school counselor, but like as Ms. Bennetone said, like I always had a desire to help people. I really liked working with young people, especially just being around athletics a lot and working in like sports and recreation and stuff a lot, like coaching young people, mentoring young people. Like I just feel like what a better place to make an impact and try to connect with people than in like a school community. So that's kind of how I like segue into counseling. And middle school is a unique time, but I do kind of feel like I found a bit of my niche with middle school. I think you have to be a special person and have a lot of patience to work with middle schoolers because it is a unique age. But I really love doing it. And this is my 8th school year at Neal. So I've seen a lot of change over the years since I started there. So.
Well, I hope that change that you saw was very good change.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I came in with a different administration, and then there was a gap where we had some interim principals come in, Mr. Key and Mr. O'Neill. Shout out to them. They were amazing people. I learned a lot working under them. But, and then obviously Dr. Fuga and you all came in. But I just think the school, the energy, the climate, it's just way more positive. And, just the kids are doing amazing things. And that's what I want people to know about Neal is just come to our school and see what we do and judge that, not on the past reputation.
So Ms. Bennett, tell us a little bit about what Student Services is and what Student Services does.
Yeah, so Student Services is made up of a group of people, like you said. It is basically a group of us that come together to make sure that we are serving students beyond the curriculum that teachers are teaching. So anything that can impact learning or maybe getting in the way of learning or needs that students have, we address it. So we have Mr. Phillips, our social worker, who is amazing. He does a lot of things with attendance or with our homeless population. A lot of things. And then we have the school counselors who we address a lot of the social and emotional needs. We do individual counseling, we do group counseling, we might go into the classrooms, do school system, school level things. And then we also have in there our bilingual liaison. And so she's a really important part of our student services. She really helps us connect. We have a large Spanish speaking population. And we would not be able to do half of the things that we do without her. And so Ms. Bianca is amazing, and she's a large part of our student services as well. And then we have our MTSS coordinator who does things regarding additional services or additional supports that students need if they're not meeting growth within the classroom. She supports with that. So I would say student services does a lot of the behind the scene things to make sure that students are making the growth in class. So we also do things with food pantry to make sure that those basic needs are met. Just a lot of things to just make sure that the students are having the whole child is being addressed and not just the academic piece. Because like I mentioned in the classroom, I noticed that if those things were not being met, learning is not going to happen. And so we also do a lot of collaboration with teachers. If they're seeing some issues or seeing some behavioral things, we might try to get at the root of what things are, talk about how we might be able to impact change. We'll collaborate with parents, with community members. So we do a lot of those kinds of things.
Ms. Habel, Ms. Bennetone mentioned a food bank. I know that there are things that happen at the school as far as being able to give the kids school supplies, book bags, pencils, notebooks, paper, clothing if necessary. There have been donations of that sort. Can you just give us a little background on that and how you guys operate with that and how well it's been going, and how many people you've been able to provide stuff for?
Yeah, so Miss V actually really kind of started the partnership with we have Interfaith Food Shuttle, and so they deliver food to us on a monthly basis. And so we have, when we were in person, we kind of had a backpack program where students would take home food as needed. Now with virtual, we created like an online system. So for anyone who might need a bag on our website, under students and parents section, there's a food pantry link. And so you can request food, you can request school supplies, like Mr. Big said. We've had some amazing partnerships with churches and businesses as well that have supported our food pantry, clothing pantry, as well as we had an enormous donation from Office Depot this year. So we've been kind of building a school store and trying to get some incentives for our kids to reward them for everything that they're doing academically. And just celebrate them. It's been a really different year and challenging for a lot of different reasons. So I'd say on our food pantry, we've served probably over 100 families, and we also partnered with Swing Pals, and we actually delivered some food in the community as well on multiple occasions. So definitely we want our family students, anyone to know that that resource is there. So please use it and reach out to student services if you need those services and don't know how to access them. So
That's great.
I definitely want to thank y'all because anybody who's in the system knows that student services is the backbone of the school. And if you have a weak student services section, your school is going to suffer. So I thank you, and I don't think you guys get enough credit because even just listening to you describe it, I was like, man, good God, they do a lot. And I'm thinking the one class I teach is a lot, but I want to go ahead and just dive into it. I wanted you to tell us, in no particular order, whoever wants to jump at it, what is the toughest part of your job?
Would you say, so I would say that there would be different answers pre-pandemic versus pandemic. So do you have, because our job has changed a little bit.
No,
yeah.
Go ahead and touch on them both because people may not understand how the pandemic has affected how you do your job as well.
Yeah, I can start. So I would say pre-pandemic, the toughest part for me has been hearing a lot of the needs that are happening with the students. Like our students go through a lot. I don't know if y'all remember what middle school was like for you guys. I remember what it was like for me, which is why I didn't want to do middle school at first. But they have this, and then they have social media now, which I didn't have before. They have now the pandemic, all of the racial tensions and the political climate. There's just a lot going on with our students. And on top of that, I think that, again, like loss, a lot of the things that are happening within the community are directly impacting our kids. And so I think that sometimes you can see the news and you can see these things and you're very detached from it. But when these are like it's hitting home and it's hitting our students and I can hear the impact that it has on them, it's hard. And I think it's hard knowing that there's just, it's the things that we can do to support them sometimes feel a little limited. And I think pandemic time, what has been even harder is just access to our students. So some of the students, I knew what was going on and at least I knew I could be there for them. But now it's like, I don't even know what's going on in some of your lives because I don't have access to you, or I know things are going on and I can't see you. I can't talk to you. We're limited by a screen. We're trying to find you and we don't know where, like, there's just a lot of barriers to even be able to be a support system for the students. So I would say pre-pandemic, it was just hearing a lot of the needs and sometimes feeling a little helpless in what I feel like I can do, or feeling like there are crises happening and I have to address that need when I know there are other things that are going on that students also need support in, but I have a crisis at the moment that I have to address. And sometimes it takes all day and I might not be able to meet some of these other needs. So yeah, that's what I would say pre-pandemic. Now, knowing that all of that is happening, but not hearing from the students or having access to them, I think has been really challenging.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry. I would definitely echo like everything Ms. Bennetone said. Like for this current school year, it's just like you feel desperate sometimes just trying to make that connection, like calling every number that you know to try to connect with the student or a family. And it can be like, you feel kind of defeated at times. But I think prior to, this school year, like Ms. Bennetone said, I just think it can be emotionally draining at times because the reality is like you're trying to build this trust and this relationship with students, and you're really actually helping them through very vulnerable situations and sitting with, some really hard stuff and like painful stuff for people. And it's like, I feel grateful to be able to do that, but it does, you have to learn kind of how to, I guess, compartmentalize it. And just like, I think Mr. Big said it on another podcast that I watched, just sometimes you feel like you just can't reach everybody or you can't do enough to help people. And you kind of like put this pressure on yourself, I guess, I know for me, sometimes it just feels like you're climbing up a wall, but you can't get over it sometimes. And that gets hard. So, but it's all worth it. It's just, you have to learn ways to cope, like in any job, like teachers, admin, we all have to find different ways to cope with the hard parts of the job. So
I cannot imagine how hard it has to be because it's me as a teacher, and like you guys are the backbone of the school. You guys you guys are the team that you assist teachers in the way the teachers can't assist the students. Like we try our best, to help them emotionally, but without you guys, I don't know where most of our students are gonna be. And I do have a question. How do you avoid like getting emotionally tied to the students, the students that you help? Because I can't imagine like if it I could never be, I could not work, I could not be part of the student council, like I couldn't be a counselor because I get too emotionally attached and it would destroy me, like how do you guys work with that? I'm very curious.
I mean, I'll let Bennetone jump in as well. Like, I want to be emotionally tied to my students, like that's part of being in education and being a counselor. Like you want to have that emotional tie, but yes, like part of our profession is like ethically like learning how to have boundaries and set those boundaries and do it within your role. And so I think it just takes practicing those boundaries and having other outlets, like I said, like other ways to disconnect from work, but also just recognizing that, within the scope of the school, you have a role to do and just trying to fulfill that. But it is really hard at times to not take it home or like just want to go above and beyond sometimes to a very large extent.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I think that I was talking to a teacher recently who's considering school counseling, and one of the things that I shared with them was, as a teacher, the relationship that I built with the students looks differently than it does as a school counselor. Like there are boundaries and there are differences than when I was in the classroom, and that was something that I had to figure out and learn. And like Ms. Habel said, I think that it comes with time. At the beginning, it can feel really heavy, and it still does at times. Like I'll come home and will feel it and won't be able to shake some things and might have to, process myself. But I know, like with myself, faith is big for me, and so that's my outlet, or what how I kind of keep going and I'm okay. But like Ms. Habel said, I think it comes with practice and it comes with time and experience, but it doesn't mean that it ever completely goes away and that it doesn't hit you really hard sometimes.
And I asked that because right now this is meant like everything that's going on, this new virtual world, they're going back to school, everything has to be so scary, and I'm pretty sure that you guys are very, very busy these days. I do have a question. How do you guys what would be advice for you guys for any student that's watching or any teacher that's watching, how would you what would you guys recommend for dealing with all this scary world that's happening right now, like the opening of schools and all that stuff? Like, what do you guys recommend to do? Like, do you recommend take a break? Do you recommend a hobby? Like, what is a good advice, that I could tell my students and that you guys recommend for other people to deal with all this?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is be okay, like understand that the feelings that you have are okay and that they're normal, and don't ignore that, because I think sometimes people are just so like they're constantly on the go, or they're just trying to get things done, or they're trying to act like everything is okay, and sometimes feel like they're the only ones feeling it or experiencing things. But we are all, like, there's a baseline level of trauma that the entire world is experiencing, and then there's additional things that the United States is experiencing. Like, there's just a lot that's going on, and I think that we all try to keep going and have a brave face and a strong face, but the reality is that everyone has feelings. Teachers are experiencing things. Students are. The parents who are sending their kids back to school are experiencing, everyone is, administration. And so I think the first thing is just owning the feelings and being able to admit that they're there, so that you can process them, or talk it out with someone else, or understand that maybe you do need to take a break sometimes, or maybe you need to find an activity or an outlet. But the first thing is recognizing that the feelings are actually there.
Yeah, I would say like validating just like how you're feeling. And then like you said, like if you are feeling stressed, like finding different ways to work through that. Some people want to talk about things. Some people might want to exercise, meditate, listen to music, like just using different things that help you relax and kind of get you grounded. I would say too, just being informed, like, you know, like you all share news on this podcast every time. And so just like gathering information and educating yourself about what the reentry is going to look like is important. You know, like as students, it's good for them to see and know what it's going to be like, and practicing that and thinking about it before you just jump into it. So just, you know, informing yourself of the reentry process, or just in general, just educating yourself about things that you might be unsure about too.
I agree. And checking the sources also, though, going like when you're getting that information, making sure
Yes, very true.
sources, and like, you know, if you don't know, talk to a teacher about it, talk to a parent. Like, I think that sometimes, especially right now in the climate that that we're in, there's a lot of false information or things that are confusing. And so it's really important to check your sources as well. And if there's questions about reentry, a great place to start would be like your teachers or staff members or the DPS website or NEAL website and those sorts of things.
Yes, that was gonna be one of my follow-up questions. Because right now I see that there's a lot of misinformation, and I just want, you know, to reach out to whoever's watching, you know, to make sure that you get all the information from the right people. You guys are the right people for all this situation. Anything mental health related, any issue that's going on, just don't be afraid of, like, I'm just talking, you know, to whoever's watching, don't be afraid to talk it out. A lot of people are forgetting about talking, and forgetting about expressing your emotions, expressing how you're feeling. And yeah, that's why I ask all these questions. And for our students, they have to reach out to you guys for all this information, because right now I heard a student that told me that the virus was created to kill a certain type of people. And I was like, just chill a little bit. Let's check this out. You know? So yeah, so I really want to thank you guys for all your hard work, because you could like Sherard said, you guys are the backbone of the school.
I want to take a second before I go into another question and give a shout out to some of our former co-workers. Nurse Buckner said, "You guys are the best. Miss you." And I told her we miss her too. So Nurse Buckner, thank you for checking in with us. And also my girl, Miss Fran Gant, who's a principal now out in Caswell County. Fran, we miss you.
Miss
We miss you. We miss you. All right. So we're glad that you guys have checked in. And hey, Fran, tell your whole school, your students, parents, everybody, join in. Join in. We do it twice a month. And it's always up on social media. So you'll always see when we're gonna have these. We'll have the dates put up and do our little promotions and marketing for it every time. So, and anybody else that's out there, please share this throughout your network, friends, family, co-workers, whoever else. We really want to make this a huge deal. So you guys were talking earlier, and Ms. Habel, you kind of been there the longest. You've been there the longest, so you've seen a lot of change and things that have come about. I just wanted to ask you guys, what is it? Oh, before I go into that, shout out to Mr. Terrence Covington. I got to give my man his props. He's taken over the situation of kind of leading the social student services department from the admin perspective. He's doing a wonderful job. He's a former counselor himself, so he can relate to everything that you all do and go through. And he has a wealth of knowledge. So I got to give my man his props. Got to give him his props. Big shout out to him. So just tell me what it's like working in NEAL. Ms. Bennetone, you came later, so you can speak from just the perspective of about 2 years ago to now. But Ms. Habel, you can kind of go more in depth about the changes you've seen or what is taking place, whether it be positive or negative, and just the atmosphere. What do you guys like about NEAL? And people watching, I did not plant them here to answer or take it away.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I just feel like overall, just like the climate of the school, the energy is just way more positive. You know, some people you talk to, they dread going into work. And, I know all of us in our jobs sometimes have those days where we're like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to go to work. But Neil is a place that, like, even in the bad days or like bad weeks, like, I love going to Neil, and a lot of it is because my department, I have amazing relationships with them, and like they're a reason that I've stayed at Neil so long. And then on top of that, like the administrator and the teachers, it's just like, you can tell everyone really has a heart for the students and what they're doing. They're invested, they care about the school. It's not just like clock in, clock out. It's like they're gonna work above and beyond to serve the students and serve the school. And, I like, as a counselor, it's cool because you really get to work with a lot of different people in the building. Like we loop with our students. So, I get to follow them from 6th to 8th grade. So you get to build those relationships. And then amongst all that, you're getting to work with all the different professionals in the building and learn about them and learn from them. So, those are some things I like about Neil. I'll let Ms. Bennetone jump into.
Yeah, I can't speak to the big change and transitions, but that's immediately like what I felt coming to Neil. It's so obvious that the teachers it's like real and authentic relationships with the students. And I think that that's a reflection of the top down. The administration has real, raw, authentic relationships with the staff members and the students, which allows everyone else to have that relationship with their students and each other as well. And so I will say relationships are huge, and it's not just things that people say, like it's something that I can say I've experienced. I know that when we were talking about the days that are really hard, and Habel mentioned it, there are so many times that I've gone to Habel or V or Phillips, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and they just being there with them is amazing. I came from a school where it was me. I was the department, student services. And so going from that to this, where everyone really loves the students and we're there for the students. Everything that we're doing, the decisions that are being made, it's for the students. And it's obvious and it's felt. And so I will say that a big thing has just been relationships, which is amazing. And then I can also say that it's a place where you're gonna get stretched. That there are things that you learn every day about others, about yourself. And I think that it's obvious that leaders are being cultivated in the school. And again, that's top down. The administration is cultivating like leaders within the teachers, and then the teachers are doing that with the students. So just a lot of opportunities to grow and be stretched. And I think that also comes with the authentic relationships that have been built.
Cool. Mr. Sherrod was giving his plug for Neil in the very first episode. He comes from another school, and I appreciate what he said about our school. And I hope DPS and the city of Durham itself starts to realize what a gem Neil is, and that a lot of people that are there are doing a lot of hard work. And as an administrator, I applaud the staff, because without them, there is no us. So they're the lifeblood, and everything that you all do and all the teachers do, that's what makes our school. And that's what makes our job a little bit easier. So again, I give you all a big hand. So now that we're in this pandemic and we're getting ready to go back to school, what information would you guys like to give from the student services perspective to students and parents upon our return?
I just think obviously just, staying in touch with the school, like I said, and just like being informed about the reentry plan in terms of safety precautions that are going to take place. Preparing yourself like for what your schedule is going to look like, how the day is going to flow. I know our school will be, giving more information about that as it gets near the date. But just to like reaching out, like if you need help, like if you're back in the building and you need to speak with us as your counselor, or you need more support or resources, we're there to help support with the transition if you are having a hard time, and just really just encouraging students to continue to push through, because like we've endured so much to this point. And so it's like we're in the home stretch really of the school year. And so whether you're staying virtual or in person, my role is going to be the same in terms of I'm going to do my best to support you virtually, and you're building. And I think the same is for the teachers, because they're going to be in the same position where they're supporting students virtually and in person, but really just having that open communication and like, we're going to be there to support you through it. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of great communication is going to go out. And so just making sure that information is updated, like your phone numbers, your email address, all of those, so that you're not missing the information. I know people have had questions about a lot during the during this phase. And so just making sure all of that is updated. And then even if there are things that you're going through and you don't know if it's something that we can support you with, we also might be able to connect you with like outside agencies and outside resources. And so just like Ms. Habel said, having that communication open, and hopefully we'll be able to support you directly or guide you to someone else who might be able to support.
Cool. Well, I guess we're coming near the end of this episode. I want to thank you ladies for joining us again. I want to thank the co-hosts for being here. Shout out again to Mr. Austin, man. We're still with you, my brother. I just want to tell the parents that be flexible. Tell the students to be flexible. Please check your emails. Listen to the robocalls. Any other information that your child is giving you from his teachers doing the remote learning while we're still in that remote learning. Because these plans and things can change daily, make sure that you stay on top of it. And if your child is going to be coming back to school, please send them on the proper day, the day that is their grade level, so we don't have any mass confusion. So please stay on top of all of that information. Again, big shout out to Miss Fran Gant. We miss you. Big shout out to Nurse Lisa Buckner. We miss you. You all are still part of the Neal family. We hope everyone continues to check in. And the next episode will be on Wednesday the 31st, y'all. It'll be right after spring break. When y'all go off on spring break, please do everything in your power to stay safe so that you don't bring anything back to the building when we open that school up. So please make sure the masks are on. Somebody's saying, what group of students made you want to keep on helping the students? Oh, they starting to ask personal questions now. That's a student. They want to know which student was the best, which student made you want to help the most. We love them all. We love all y'all equal. Nobody gets any favors here. Come on, John. Don't do that. Don't do that. We love everybody. Yeah, all the students make us want to keep on working hard. So that's what we do. We're trying to help everybody. But so when you go with spring break or anybody coming to visit you guys spring break, let's and look. Just because you got the shot doesn't mean I'm free now. Take my mask off and run around and do things. Do not do that. Let's all be safe. Let's keep each other safe. Nurse Butler says, wish you guys the best with the children returning. I hope they found you a new nurse. Unfortunately not, Nurse Buckner. So there's still vacancy there. Your office is still the same. And I still need those blood pressure checks on a regular basis. So please come back. Please come back. We love you. All right? They haven't found us anybody, Nurse Buckner. You had to leave. So with that being said, y'all, we're going to leave out. We're going to leave out with a song from Truth, Spread My Wings.
Shout out to the students. This podcast is for y'all. So
yeah, y'all make sure
your friends
the podcast every week. Student services. The best student services in DPS, y'all. Right here.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
I already told my class we want to have more students. Get a piece of
Protectiveness, y'all.
Shout out to Miss Tiffany Scott, new AP, holding it down with 6th grade. Shout out to Miss Tanika Hannah, our intern, holding it down. Shout out to Mr. Doctor. Now we got to take the Mr. away. Dr. Fugger for holding the whole school down. Shout out to me.
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Shout out to me. Shout out to Coach Keenan for all the work he's doing in the community, even during the pandemic, and all the championships that he won. I got to give him that. Coach Jay, we miss you. You left us. If she's watching, Jory, we miss you already. Y'all, have a great evening. Everybody, talk to y'all later. Next episode, March 31st.
Peace.